All right, Coach, talk about this week, getting back to action, hosting UNLV.
Yeah, it's good to, it's good timing for us to have a bye. It was good timing for what we needed to get done. Have a big game this week against one of the probably two top teams that people have regarded in the Mountain West. And so it'll be a big challenge this week with UNLV. They're well coached. They've got good players. They got a good football team. So let's start with any questions.
Dual
Dual-threat quarterbacks haven't exactly been great for this Wyoming team over the last handful of years, but what do you see in Calandria, and is he a true dual-threat guy?
Yeah, no, he's true dual threat. I mean, he runs very well. I mean, look, he's got 229 yards rushing, and he's completing 72% of his passes. So, look, you start there with the fact of, they have him. They've got a very good running back. They've got three receivers that are, all combined have 40 catches and 600 yards, basically. But Calandria is the key. I mean, he's an extremely talented quarterback and, possesses the dual threat capability that is something that everybody is always wanting to have in their quarterback and that everybody finds challenging defensively to play against.
Any injury updates coming out of the bye, and specifically Nathan Geiger?
Yeah, so Geiger will miss the rest of the season. He'll have a surgery on October 6th. So he'll be out the rest of the year. Jake Davies will take over for Nate there, and it's kind of where we're at. Other injuries we're in a pretty good spot with, but Nate will miss the rest of the season. It's unfortunate for Nate because he worked so hard to get back and was playing pretty well. For that to happen, basically the graft to the previous surgery tore, so he'll have to have that repaired. So.
Coach, how has the defense responded in the past week at practice since Colorado?
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that we want. I mean, there was really, when you look at the Colorado game, the unfortunate part of that was you're talking a couple breakdowns and a couple key situations, or a couple people not playing the way that they needed to play, and so, we've addressed that, worked on that, and I think that there's a variety of different things that we could improve at defensively within that. I think there's some guys playing very well defensively. I think there were some guys that had been playing pretty good. I think we had a couple guys that just didn't play very well at CU, and that was something that we get addressed and get worked on. We continue to keep, pounding in the secondary with the group that we've got, because I think there is a good group there, but, we're giving Brooklyn Cheek more reps, kind of targeting Justin Taylor at one position instead of two. So there's little tweaks and things. We've got talent, so it's not about like go find a new this or go find a new that. That's not the issue. We've had some things that I feel pretty good about. Tyson Dean continues to make progress, so eventually I think we're going to see him rotational here very soon. And so that's something that I would kind of expect to see as we go into this next stretch of games.
We always hear about Sam Sula and Florentine, and rightfully so, and Vias, of course, the last couple of weeks. But I'm curious what your early thoughts are on Jaden Williams, a guy who had to step in for a couple guys who tore their Achilles, and the former Jaden Williams.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Williams is, he's done some good things. We have a very, very high expectation level for Jaden Williams. So to say he's met the expectation level that I have for him, he's not met that. But by the same token, that's a very, very high level that I expect. He's done good things, and he's made some. He's been a positive for us this year so far. That's a very gifted player. And so there's a lot more that you could ask Coach Gibson the same thing, and the fact that we know that there's a lot more in him that can come out, and he can be really, really impactful. And so that's the goal here now and going forward, is to continue to bring that out of him. And so that's where we're at.
Jay, UNLV's defense giving up around 430 yards a game. I mean, do you kind of look at this as a opportunity for some of these wide receivers to kind of contribute more consistently?
I don't know if I look at it as much as about them as it is, about us just needing to involve more people. I think that there's certain things that we've got to do from a structure standpoint. I think some of the things are on some of our players, to be more productive. And then I think we also will look at some things from a play call standpoint too, about, okay, how do we get more people involved maybe earlier in things? As far as looking at it from a UNLV perspective, look, they've had some games in there where they're up a couple scores and stuff, and I think when they need to play, they've played pretty well, and I think that they're going to present a challenge to us Saturday night and everything that way. But so there's not any perspective where we're going, okay, let's get this and this. We want more guys to play good. That's one of the things that, I had made a statement the other day, like the sand is kind of tipping in the hourglass on a couple people. They got to step up. And so that's a big piece of it too.
You've got commitments from Jackson Garrett and Beck Haswell. How important is it to get that top Wyoming talent here? And what do you do as a staff to make sure that does happen?
Well, first and foremost, I can't comment on a specific player, okay, by NCAA rule. Switch is stupid anymore. Here I could give a guy an Aston Martin in theory, right? But I can't comment on whether a guy's commit. Isn't that one of the stupidest things that you ever hear of anymore? Here, we'll give you an Aston Martin from a James Bond movie, but I can't say a word about you. No, in reality is this, from a recruiting perspective, I really, really, value, look, there's a value placed on players that are in local areas, whether it be Wyoming, cross the border into Colorado, cross the border to Nebraska. Because players that are within 4 to 5 hours of home, obviously have a much higher percentage of staying their entire time. That's first and foremost there. Secondly, you're always going to look at it from a perspective of, this isn't like fast passes at Disney World. It's like the guy's got to play. He's got to be a good player. Players that we have committed from the state of Colorado, state of Wyoming, state of Nebraska, different things that way we feel are good players. And so we're able to put ourselves in that spot there. We're about halfway done with the class of where we're going to be at. I think right now we're at 12 commits. We've got 5 coming in this weekend, maybe 6. We've got 5 next weekend. And we have right now probably 4 or 5 when we play Colorado State in that regard there. So the goal would be when we get, and then, there's a target number of transfers, that there's certain positions that I already know that we will take a transfer at this position, this position, this position. So we probably have about, one more offensive lineman, a running back, a tight end, 2 receivers, a linebacker, and 3 guys in the secondary as far as high school guys right now. That's kind of where we're at. So I like the space that we're in. It's one of those things, and when I was at Minnesota, we did this, and I felt very strongly about it. Outside of guys that go to Georgia, and outside of guys that go to places everybody can look at a guy that's a 5-star and you look at that and go, okay, yeah, look at that guy. I never ever, when I recruited Alabama and Louisiana and those places, I never had to pull up on a practice field and go, who's the LSU commit? I could get out of my car and I could walk on the field and go, that's the LSU commit. It was never very hard, right? But for a lot of other people, it pays dividends, I believe, to go into a senior year and see people play and get an evaluation of people in their senior year some. I'm not trying to wait till their playoffs are over, but to get it at a certain point. So I like where we're at recruiting-wise, even though I can't speak to anybody specific, but I like where we're at and the people that we have committed.
Jay, every week we've heard you just say that the team needs to improve in this area and that area. Are you satisfied with where the team is at in the moment, and do you think you've improved in the way you want?
Yeah, look, I didn't come out of the non-conference games like feeling pessimistic about where we are at all. I think that I still think we have a lot of growth within this year, partly because we have some guys that need to emerge that we know that are capable of emerging. Okay, so that's part of it there. Secondly is we've got some players that are new to us that will continue to get better, just foundationally continue to get better. And then we also have some young guys playing that will continue to develop. Like Tyrese Boss didn't hit his ceiling. He's a redshirt freshman right now. He's going to continue to get better. So we've got a number of guys, Caden Anderson started, 7 games now or something as a quarterback. That's not even a full season yet. So we know that there's still growth that's going to happen in a number of positions and a number of players. But I look at the combination of the fact that we've got some young guys that will continue to improve and get better and that are working to continue to improve and get better. And we've got, some experienced guys that still can step forward and emerge and be the type of players that what we expect them to be anyway. So, no, I'm optimistic coming out of where we were at, and I think that's something that the team shares as well.
Jay, we talked obviously a lot about what Evan went through last year, and I'm curious what you're maybe seeing out of him this year, obviously with J-Mike out the last couple games, and just his transition to tight end, then also going in there and getting a couple of first downs, and just maybe mentally, confidence-wise, what you're seeing out of him.
Yeah, well, first of all, he's kind of one when you talk about, players that are new to us. I could say like Braden Johnson is. He's new to our program. Evan Sabota is new to his position. He's played 4 games of it. And there's a lot of things when you watch each of those games that you look at and go, he's getting better at these things. He really is. He's starting to, he's had a couple catches now over the last couple weeks. He's putting himself in much better spots. He's been impactful for us on short yardage, those types of things there. So I would anticipate his role increasing as we go through these next series of games over where it was in the first series of games. And no, I think he's in a really good headspace, and I think he really likes the position. I think he really likes everything about it. I wish he got this stupid Diego Pavia rule from last year and got another year. That'd be great to have him back, but I don't think that that's a thing anymore. Because we can give people Aston Martins in additional years. We can't talk about recruits, and we can't give other guys a year. I have no idea what the hell we're even talking about. But no, I'm a big fan of what Evan's doing right now, and excited for where he can get to.
Quick question on Desmond Hearns. He's played the most snaps on defense. What does he bring to the defense right now?
Yeah, Des has been, what we hoped in the recruiting process. He's a good cover nickel. Okay, that helps. He's very physical. He tackles well, so that's been a big piece of it too. And I think his overall skill set, there's still a lot of growth of what he can do. I mean, there's still fundamental things that we talk about all the time. I had a great time last week. Petrino was out recruiting one day. I got to go be the safety coach again. I had a really good time with that. But Des has got things fundamentally that he can continue to improve at. And but as far as attitude, demeanor, his mentality that he brings to a game, those types of things that way, we've been really happy with what Desmond Hearns has done so far.
A guy you coach specifically, Eric Sandvik, obviously has had a nice start. A guy who only had 2 attempts in high school. You had confidence in him before any of us ever even saw this guy. Do you have, with some games coming up that are likely to be close, how much confidence do you have that he's a guy that you can throw in there from any distance?
Growing more and more. So Eric missed the one short against Northern Iowa, and it was like a 48-yard field goal. And I know everybody was probably sitting there going, how do we have a kicker that misses short from 7,000 feet, and that type of thing. And he actually hit more of the turf than he did the ball. He got under it too far. And, so it's like, that's his only miss of the year. And it was on line. It wasn't like it was a horrible kick. He just got under the ball. And Eric's been, I tell you what, his improvement keeps coming. Now, like last week, and I wanted to stretch this out when we did some of our live field goal period stuff is, we stretched him out to 55 because I want to say, okay, can you hit this if we need to run you out there for a 50-plus one? And he did. And, so I think that is that still going to be first foundationally in my mind is let's try 55-yard field goals. We'll see, but I've got a confidence level with Eric right now. And look, he's 4 for 5 in these first 4 games. And I think, I think he'll be pretty valuable for us going forward.
Jay talks about in the offseason wanting a home run hitter in the backfield. It looks like you might have that with Sam Harris. I mean, have you kind of seen what kind of growth have you seen out of him as his role continues to increase here?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the first day that when he got here this summer, we knew that he was like really good person, really good worker. The first day we went live in fall camp, I saw a run and we had a scrimmage of a 3rd down scenario, 3rd and 2 type scenario. Put the ball down just live. Let's go bang into each other and do that. And he made a run that I have not seen anybody make here. And it was an 8-yard run, right? But it was vision, cut, lower the pads and go. But there was also a speed to it. I kind of knew then, I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be pretty good. And the progression's gone really well. The progression goes as fast as what you expect from an athlete like that. Like he's really good. And the thing I appreciate about Sam is that you watch him work in the weight room, do all that. It's great. You get a grade report. It's all A's. It's great. I'm probably not allowed to say that either, right? It's like the FERPA or whatever these other I'm all kinds of trouble. We're talking about recruits' names, and I'm giving grade reports and all this other stuff. And meanwhile, I could, like I said, give a guy an Aston Martin. But no, love what he does every single day on and off the field. So, he's special. So.
Yeah, Coach, you keep talking about how you need players to emerge. I'm curious to know if there's any players in specific you're looking at for this week in particular that need to come out and play against UNLV.
No, I think that it's reasonable for us to expect, where we are in the program, that when we get several weeks from now, that Jalen Sargent has all of a sudden popped, and that John Mike Gillenborg, all of a sudden we're getting big games. I think those are reasonable things. I see it coming with Eric Richardson. I see it coming with Jalen Bean at times. I see those guys on a rise, and it's like, okay, there's an expectation. I think we're going to start seeing that. So that's why I think that there's, I think that when we look at where Jalen Sargent is right now in productivity, I would hope that when we go 4 more games from now, we're going to see a substantial difference in productivity. Okay, that's an expectation I think it's reasonable to have. He did good things against Colorado. The ball never found him. Right, there's a couple times on certain routes he did a really good job. It says we got to get him the ball, and so that was a piece of it too. So,
Chet Thomas is averaging nearly 9 yards a carry for them. What did they do well to get him in that type of position?
I mean, they do a good job with their offense overall because there's a balance to it. Run pass, it's important. You obviously have a mobile quarterback that helps them, but they do a good job with their gap schemes. They run counters, they run powers, and then he's a good player, in the fact that he can break a tackle, and once he gets to a second level, he's got home run ability too. Look, you don't average 8.7 a carry without having big runs. You know, I mean, normally it's just not, you just have 9-yard runs every single time. It's normally you've hit 5, 5, 5, 40, you know, and that's what he's capable of doing. And that's what the danger is with their offenses. You know, he can always hit a home run anywhere where he's at. And so creates a problem that we've got to be we got to be really good Saturday night. There's no question.
We good?
All right.
Yeah.
Geiger now out. Will you start rotating maybe a little bit more of Josiah Bataya and Gio Pinoza?
Yeah, everybody's kind of, you know, Gio's in that mix. Bataya possibly could. The possibilities there that Barnett could bounce out to tackle at times, you know, and that, I mean, that's a possibility because we'll look at, you know, because Luke Sandy does play for us in the O-line. So we've got Wes King plays most of the time, Luke Sandy plays part of the time, Barnett plays all the time at guard, right? Well, there's possibility that we could put Sandy and King at guard and move Barnett back out to tackle at times. We don't want to do that a lot, but that's the thing that we have to evaluate and look at and see, you know, what's best for us. And we also have to plan for the fact that, you know, look, the hidden thing in there that you don't want to talk about is that once you lose one guy, now you're one guy closer to making a big adjustment, right? You know, and that's what the danger of losing Nate Geiger for a season, and now you got, you know, so now it's okay. Let's hope nothing happens to anybody else, because then now you're causing a whole cascade of adjustments that you potentially would have to make, and that we hope that we don't have to.